If you are using RawTherapee as your photo editor, you might find creating masks a little bit challenging. At least that was my experience when I was using it, and that's the reason I switched to Darktable. But if Darktable is not your cup of tea, Art is another excellent option. As I explained in another video, Art is a fork of RawTherapee, but the local editing capabilities are much more powerful. So in this video, I'm gonna share with you how I'm creating masks with Art, and I will break it down simply so you can get started very quickly. So if that sounds good for you, let's go. Before we start, there are a few things you need to install. First, you need to install Art itself. And if you are using Linux and Art is installed as a flat pack, some of the masking feature will not work. So you can watch this video next if you want to install Art the proper way. Next, you need to download and install the CTL scripts. This is required because by default, Art doesn't have many modules you can use for masking. So by installing the CTL script, you will be able to create masks and apply effects like saturation, color correction, vibrance, and so on. So you can watch this video next if you want to know how to install these scripts. Once everything is set up, you can fire up Art. For this example, we will use this picture I took in my backyard. So I haven't done much pre-processing on that picture, so I've only applied cropping, lens correction. I haven't done any exposure. I've done capture sharpening, noise reduction, no vibrance at all. So we will do everything in the local editing tab. Once in the local editing tab, we can only choose between these four modules. But if you have installed the CTL script, you can open color tone correction, and then under mode, you can choose between all the script you have installed. For this example, we will start with the color balance RGB. We will use this module to adjust for contrast and saturation. Because we haven't applied any mask yet, the effect will be applied to the entire image. For example, if I increase my saturation, you can see the entire image is saturated. If I put it to -1, then my image is black and white. Now I will leave it to 0.5. I also want to add some contrast, and right there look fine to me. Now let's create an area mask. For this example, let's say I want to darken the top of my image. So to do so, I can go there, click on the plus to add a new mask. So under mode, I can select exposure compensation. So let's say I set it to -0.6. Now the exposure compensation is applied to my entire image. But if I want, I can go down right there and enable area mask. There are different types of masks you can choose from, but for now, let's start with the gradient filter. So that's the first icon you're seeing right there. If I click there, I can place the filter on my image. I can also click on show mask to show the area where the effect will be applied. Now let's say I want to apply the same effect but to the bottom of my image. So to do so, I can go under area shape and click on the plus. Next, I need to make sure that under mode, I'm on add. This means that both masks will be added together. So now if I put the filter at the bottom, you can see that both areas are masked. Now let's say I don't want the bottom of the mask to touch the blue jay. So to remove that part, I can add a rectangle by clicking on the third icon. Now I can click on the image to draw my rectangle. This shape is added to the mask, but I want to subtract this area. So to do so, I need to click on subtract. Now as you can see, the mask is no longer touching my subject. However, I feel like the transition is too fast and too square. So to fix that, I will delete my shape and create a new rectangle. Now I will increase roundness to get an ellipse. And I will also use the angle to cover my blue jay. Next, I will also add some feather and blur to soften the transition. Now if I click on subtract, the transition is much better. The last area mask we can do is a polygon or a custom shape. So for this example, we will apply sharpening, but only to my subject. To do so, we can enable the sharpening module and set the setting we want. For this example, I will use 0.25 and 0.5. The problem with sharpening is that, as you see now, if I apply it to the entire image, it will create noise in the background. So that's why it's a good idea to create an area mask. So now under area mask, we can click on the second icon. Now you can hold Ctrl and click on your image to add points. Now I can play with feather and blur to soften the transition. And that's it. Before I go, there are a few additional tips that I want to share quickly. First, when you create a mask, you can always invert it. In this example, if I click on invert, everything except my subject will be masked. Also, you can play with the opacity to reduce the effect you are applying to your mask. Lastly, you can name your mask, which is convenient if you open your image in a few days or weeks. So that's it for me. I hope the video was helpful. If it was, just give me a like and see you next time.